Welcome. You are listening to the EA View. It's a new EA talk show where we're discussing the archetypes from Aries to Pisces and looking at a variety of aspects in astrology, including a little bit of current events, a fingerprint, which I'll discuss in a minute on what that really means, some comedy, and just an opportunity for us to come together as astrologers and discuss evolutionary astrology and just how you can go deeper into the chart and actualize what it is that you came here to be and to do. So I'd like to welcome my team. We've got Deva Green and Staciepazura, Rose Marcus and Sol Jonassen from Norway. And so I'd just like to welcome y'all. Welcome back, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Here again.
So I have to say there's something about the water. I'm looking at these pictures of water and it's been really warm in Oregon, like the 60s. All of a sudden it was spring and then it poured rain yesterday. And there was something so soothing about it. It was just, I love the sun, don't get me wrong, but there was something so purifying about it. And as we reach the last sign of the zodiac and we come together to really culminate a cycle, culminating a year in time, there's something beautiful about the water. And it actually snowed here last night. I woke up to snow. So it just felt fitting for the times. And I was remembering too, last month when we were discussing Aquarius and Sol, you in particular talking about, I think, the nature of extremes that come with this archetype. I was so encouraged by the stellium of Aquarian energy. And yet there wasn't a real extreme experience that I had in the last month. A new life entered our world here and we lost a life. So it feels like Pisces today, and forgive me if I get emotional. But I'd like to just talk about what this time together is going to be about so you have an idea of what to expect, and leave it to Pisces to get emotional, right? This is when we feel everything. We feel the power of what it means to experience joy and something beautiful, and we feel the power of what it means to lose something when it's not meant for this world anymore. So I know that many people in this country, actually in this world, have lost people that they've loved, in particular with COVID and well, various reasons. It's just part of life. But so from my heart to yours, may you find peace. All right, so the reason why we started this show is that we were just fascinated with people in the world that are actualizing what it is that they came here to do. And I have just wonderful memories of Jeffrey, who used to really love nothing more than to witness somebody just being who they are in the world. And I remember him saying that very few souls will not deviate from their fingerprint. It takes a lot of courage just to stay true to who you are. And the reason why is because there'll be judgments thrown at you, persecutions, and it creates a high degree of that feeling of insecurity when you're not having the support of people around you. So, but there's so much power in being able to just be who you are. And he used to celebrate souls. It didn't even matter what they were doing. And so literally they would be having to have a strong signature of courage in their chart, or a symbol that connects to being able to access some of that courage, and only in order to be who they are. And maybe you know exactly what I'm talking about. Eventually we will all make it back to who we are. And so, know that we are in a state of becoming, and we are all making our way back to our root, and we are evolving from that place. So I welcome you here today to learn a little bit more about that fingerprint. Okay, so here's our lineup today, and Stacie's going to share a daemon story, and maybe you can remind the listeners what it means to be a daemon soul. We've got a current event to talk about that's absolutely linked with the archetype of Pisces, and we'll share more about that. We're going to look at the key transit for the month, a fingerprint chart, a very highly visible soul, Amanda Gorman right now, young woman, Black woman, doing some incredible things. Really, it feels like overnight this occurred. And we're going to teach a little bit of the foundational principle of EA. And we're going to laugh a little. We all appreciate that every day, but with Soul Jonassen again, and looking into music and movies that connect to the archetype of Pisces, and then we'll wrap it up. So, Stacie, I'll let you begin.
Yeah, so I was thinking about, I wanted to really hone in on the Pisces archetype this month, and I came across this really sweet little news story where a man had lost his golden retriever. She had died, and he was just so heartbroken that he put out messages to, like, he put it in the newspaper, like, if any, and he put up flyers. My bird is talking. He put up flyers that said, if I can play with your animal, please contact me. And, I'm grieving, and I need some help coping with this loss. And everyone called. Like, he has so many play dates, and it was just such a beautiful story, but it really got me thinking about the loss of a pet and how universal it is. It seems like everyone I know, regardless of politics, regardless of anything, people really, it's hard when you lose a fur baby, right? And this is kind of why I have Bella on my shoulder here. Before Bella, I had the same African gray parrot named Love, and he kind of died in a traumatic event where I was not allowed to be there, and I was so distraught. I just didn't know how I was going to live without him. And I looked online and to see if there were any other African gray parrots out there, and I found Bella. She happened to be his exact age, which is important for me because African grays live really long. So I didn't want to like get a young bird and like have to will it off to somebody, when I pass. But so this is my girl, and she's just the smartest, most intelligent, funny thing that I've ever known. She has filled the void. I mean, she's talking. I don't know if you can hear it, but I just remember when I had found, my first bird, Love, when he had died, I just, I thought I couldn't recover. And this girl has allowed me to recover. She really has. And I also brought this little nugget here. This is Annie.
Oh my goodness.
This is Annie. She's a Boston Terrier. She's actually my dad's. He had lost a Shih Tzu who he called his princess, and I think he went without a dog for about a year, and he just wasn't the same. He just was not the same. He was dragging. He was, I don't know, something was missing. And one day he got word that this girl was needing to be rehomed, and he went ahead and swiped her or snagged her. And it happened to be on the day of his former dog's birthday. So it was kind of a spiritual moment for him. And, I just see how it's kind of brought back spirit to his soul. And, and I just bring this stuff up because I know that it's something that we all experience. Whenever someone loses a pet, it's like it's the loss of a member of a family. And yeah, this is actually a picture of my little Daphne. I had a chocolate Labrador, and she was with me for 15 years. And I remember I had gone through a pretty major depression at that time, and she would just lay on my chest and she would breathe. I still remember the sound of her breathing. And but she had a heart failure, and she had heart disease. And you know, this is another thing that I kind of wanted to talk about. It's like you have these pets and sometimes they develop health issues and you don't know what to do. Do you euthanize them right away so they don't experience pain? Or do you let them fulfill a natural life? And in this case with Daphne, I allowed her to fulfill a natural life, and I allowed her to die naturally. And, you know, and I've known other people who have euthanized their animals, and it's like none of us are sure like we've done the right thing. It's like, do you do it early or do you let them go natural? And so it's just this human universal thing that we go through. Like these pets, it's like Kristin says all the time, animals have no agenda, and that is why they are so precious to us. They really just, they feel something that no other human can. Yeah, that's my girl. That's my girl who I lost, and with her little paw in my hand. And so, you know, so I kind of wanted to highlight these kids, my bird and my dad's dog. You know, these are all, you know, when you lose a pet, there's someone waiting, and it continues. And so, but animals just really are just a universally comforting thing. And so
they're so healing. I mean, we've talked about the daemon archetype being connected with the mutable signs, right? And starts with Sag really in terms of the daemon soul, but through the mutable axis, Pisces is part of that, and it can be so healing. The love that they give to us is unconditional. Animals give unconditional love, and that is part of that mutable axis that we experience through these relationships. So thank you so much for sharing that, Stacie.
Yeah, you're welcome. And do we get to meet Lou? Because I know that you had a loss and you found a new sweetheart.
I'm going to see if I can bring him on in here. So early at the very beginning of the show, I was talking about a new life, a new love, and we did get a new puppy. We lost our Mastiff of 11 years last May, and so that was a beautiful thing. But our family also experienced a devastating loss of a human, and he was only 54. And so it's just, I feel like, you know, this little being has just, thank God he was here when our family had to go through this, because, okay, go ahead and get him now. Apparently he just went to sleep, but we'll get him for a second. Anyway, there's just something about that, because, you know, they keep you so present. They don't let you wallow for too long because they want to play or they want to lick your face or something. But anyway, so we really did experience the extremes, and I'm grateful for the timing of this in a way, but it keeps us just open and sensitive and very much in touch with our emotions. We can't run from them when you have an animal present. You just can't. They keep you there. So this is Lou. I introduced Lou to the group, and he is only 2.5 months. He won't weeks, 2.5 months. Sorry, and he's going to be about 160 pounds, we think. So I just wanted to welcome. He can't really see anybody, but thank you. And he's already like doubled in weight since we got him, so I'm not going to be carrying him for much longer. But so there's something about animals too that can just bring you back to your nature and bring you back to your roots. I mean, I'm Crystallian, so like I like them big. I like the dogs really big. Won't be able to ride them like a horse, but I'm definitely into the bigger breeds. And so anyway, thank you for sharing that, Stace. All right, let's move. Now this is a big swing in another direction, but just last, I guess this was the end of January when this occurred, but this is Eugene Goodman. And when I think of the archetype of Pisces, I also think about the word sacrifice, sacrificing yourself for the sake of a cause, or sacrificing yourself for the sake of another. It could be somebody who sacrifices their own needs in a relationship. And this man was a security guard at the Capitol when there was the angry mob of men, mostly men, I would say. There were women there too. And he received the Congressional Gold Medal of Honor for, it was voted unanimously on both sides of Congress. The video went viral of his part and what he did to deter this angry mob away from the Senate. And with, you know, they had threats of violence and death. And so a single Black man, the last time that the Capitol had been attacked in this way was back at the Civil War. And so this is just I don't have a birthday.
Now Linda is back, and I'm not
Hey,
sure.
hey, Kristin, just wait.
Okay, so.
Okay, so where was I? Wow, that was a crazy place to stop.
Yeah, you were saying that what killed him the most was being called nigger 15 times.
Right. And so I think, you know, in all of his years, maybe he just lived in an area where that was never spoken to him. I mean, not that he doesn't know that. I mean, I'm sure he has experienced it, but here he was in uniform trying to protect the US Capitol. And so what I found was so powerful really is that, again, it was a unanimous vote, both sides of the aisle, to give him this extremely rare congressional highest Gold Medal of Honor award from Congress. So just an event in our world that reflects the Pisces archetype. Yes, a victim in that situation, but really more putting himself in the line of fire to protect something that he holds dear.
Well, and I would just like to say that, I mean, I remember on the day of the event on January 6th, I turned on the news and I saw that footage of him, you know, running up the stairs, and there was this mob behind him. And I just kept thinking, what are you doing? What are you doing? And it later became determined that he was leading them away from the Senate where there were people hiding, and he was protecting people. And it was like the most brilliant move. He led them to officers who were standing by, but you couldn't immediately see that. And yeah, he was alone, you know, with all the, you know, we had people that were killed, there was violence, and he was just so brave. And yeah, that was so, yeah, Kristin, that was such a beautiful moment when the whole Congress came together and just stood up and gave him applause.
Yeah, if they can agree on one thing, thank God they agreed on this. So.
Yeah.
All right, we're moving right along. You know, we are obviously and now in the month of March, and Rose is here with us, but she will not be on video because she's recovering herself from a little bit of
eye surgery.
There you go. I knew what it was. I didn't know if you wanted to share, but right. So anyway, she's here with us, and we're going to discuss the signature transit for the month of March. And of course, there's so much going on all of the time. And I know we did pick a new moon last month. I always like to look at the moon anyway, because it's just a day where there's new life and clean slate, new opportunity potentially. And this one, again, is very Piscean, and it's very loaded really with energy. So go ahead, take it away there.
Yeah, it's an amazing new moon in Pisces. And as you can see on the screen, it is also drawing from Venus and Neptune in conjunction. And this new moon is revving up as of the 10th of March, when the Sun and Neptune will be conjunct. And it has just this really potent seeding energy. look at the chart, you'll see also too that Ceres and Chiron are conjunct at 7 degrees of Aries. Also too that up by the south node, we have Juno at 21 degrees of Sagittarius. So all the Pisces planets are triggering that square to Juno, and Juno has been working with the south node and does for a majority of the year. Juno is the contract asteroid, or I always say that it is the covenants or soul contracts that you made with yourself. And of course, Pisces is all about potential. It is a surrender process. And as you were saying a little while ago, Kristin, in terms of how you were feeling the bittersweetness of losing someone, and then the demands of the moment with the dog, you know, this is really surrendering to the process of the here and now, to be in touch with the emotions, whatever those emotions are. You know, to allow yourself to feel exactly what you're feeling. And with Pisces, it's all about the undercurrents as well, too. So it's like, you know, listen to those undercurrents. Venus is the archetype of listening. And in terms of the Pisces archetype, surrendering and relinquishing, you know, kind of your projections on whatever it is. And when you listen to the undercurrents of the silence, it isn't really silent. You know, there's so much potency going on here. It's a time of experiential. With Ceres is a seeding archetype as well too. So potentials are stirring, something is awakening, a new evaluation process is underway. Not all is revealed yet. But again, with that Juno position up there with Sagittarius, it is about Sagittarius is the archetype about finding your truth. And all of these energies here are all orchestrating together to seed for you something that is already in process. And that's going to be revealed over a period of time. We're working with this new moon all the way to the full moon, which is at the end of the month on the 28th. And just before the new moon, the full moon happens, which is in the sign of Aries, Libra, I meant to say, the Sun and Venus will be at superior conjunction. Superior conjunction is like the Venus position is on the far side of the Sun, but you can sort of think of it as a full moon aspect, and we're already in this full moon Libra Aries. So that's a consciousness raising. It's becoming more aware. And at the time of the full moon, Sun, Venus, and Chiron will be together. So between now and this full moon, there's an awful lot of potency. Pisces is all about potency. It's all about allowing it all to be revealed. And with the Aries influence of Chiron and Ceres really being present in the moment, all will be revealed in due course. But if you don't struggle, and if you relinquish that kind of projection on what it's supposed to be and allow yourself to feel in the moment, it will all unfold for you.
So what do you think about that Venus-Neptune balsamic conjunction at the new moon? I find that fascinating, being that Venus is the lower octave of Neptune, and they're culminating. I know what it means for me. Just put it out there. You know, it's like there's this beautiful new moon while something else is also trying to heal at the same time.
Well, you know, absolutely. It is a transitioning point, as I said. Balsamic is a seeding for the future archetype. Two things happen during a balsamic energy is that something comes to closure, but it's also seeding for some time in the future. And again, this is what I was saying about the new moon and full moon together. At the time of the full moon's in Libra, and Venus is with the Sun in superior conjunction. So this can be a personal breakthrough in terms of you seeing it in a new way, feeling it in a new way. It is about shifting the perspective and shifting the evaluation and shifting all the downloads as well too. So I think it's brilliant in terms of the potency and seeding for now, and that is really what we're doing for the year, really, in terms of that. But for right now, this next month holds great potential. And you can't always see at the time of a new moon all of the promise, right? It is at some later point that all the puzzle pieces fit together and then you see. But it is for you to be listening, resourcing. With Pisces, it's about resourcing from a higher place, or from really from soul, from source, listening, transcending the singular I and orienting to the collective I.
Yes. If anybody is honing in on all the aspects, another thing that's standing out in terms of a new cycle, Rose, and the way that you're talking about it, even seeding. So Jupiter and Mercury are the rulers of the transiting nodes here, with Jupiter ruling the south node, the past, and Mercury ruling the future. Mercury and the north node being in Gemini. They are also in a new phase, in forming a new phase, wide conjunction here, but they just formed a conjunction yesterday, early yesterday. And so this is a nice, hopeful energy too, in terms of accelerating something in your life, or something being a catalyst in your life, some new ideas that you have, a way that you feel might liberate you in your life. I know that the whole world is wanting to get out and do the things that they used to be able to do in some way. I was listening to a news show that I love, and the two hosts were talking about what they will do once everything opens up. I thought that was cute. Like one of the guys says that he can't wait to go to concerts, to those all-day concerts where you can hear all these bands and just walk around, to different stages. And he's a big music buff. And the woman said, I can't wait to go to a Warrior basketball game, those professional basketball games. Everyone's just crowded in a room. I can't even imagine being in a closed space without a mask on. Can any of you? I mean, it's just.
Well, I had a very social experience yesterday. For the first time in probably a year, we went out dining. We went, just to an ordinary restaurant, and there were actually people there. And I'm like, there's other people here. I haven't noticed for a while, like this. It was like, I think a lot of people are now a little worried if we ever will be able to go back to normal, like without thinking of being, contaminated with anything. But I think after I saw yesterday, like I saw this, I had this experience of the atmosphere inside that quite crowded restaurant. And then it felt like it was just like it used to be back in the days. It's something like, I think now with that seating of the two rulers of the nodal axis, I think we're all struggling a little bit to find vision, or it's, we need very much new visions for, we need to have some sort of uplifting vision. And with everything going on in Pisces for the time being, and I also wanted to mention that the asteroid Psyche, which is also part of being sensitive on planet Earth, is currently in Gemini and squaring all this. So there's like a hypersensitivity going on in our fields, inside us. And I think that can be, on one end, quite confusing, because we have that projected fantasy or the illusions going on. And then we have to keep be rational, and we have to take one day at a time and put one foot ahead of the other. And I think that Aquarius conjunction is showing us to be a little bit detached when we are approaching the astral confusion that can sometimes be that cocktail over in Pisces. It's, like it's really longing, I feel something inside of me. It's really longing. It's longing for something. And I'm like, anything, like, there's like this longing for purity in a way, when everything was the way it should be.
Exactly.
Why is it not the way it should be? It should be different than this. You know,
I had exactly that same experience. I went out to a restaurant and it was normalcy. The restaurant was full, and I think that that's part of what this is suggesting. A new program is starting, but we have yet to catch up to it consciously.
So you mentioned the word longing, and of course I think of Mars when I think of that longing, something you want, something that's driving you, that passion. And I do like the position of Mars for this new moon. It's trining Saturn, and it's progressively forming a strong trine to Saturn in that 2 week, the 2 weeks that separate the new moon from the full moon that you were talking about, Rose. And so remember that our desires are what drives us forward. It's our choice-making planet, that Mars. It's our planet of action and movement and progress. So the combination between the Aquarius energy that you spoke of, Soul, and all this Pisces influence, because I have to tell you, there's like at least 15 women I can think of in my mind right now, the few women that I've been working with that have expressed this in-between feeling and this feeling of being lost. And that Pisces sort of fog and not having their footing. And it's that spiraling feeling. And so, of course, how we help others that come to us, I feel like in the most profound ways can be through talking to them about transits that are coming. And about surrendering is a Pisces word, and surrendering to the moment or even the day or actually the timing of when what they're hoping to experience can experience, because we can't force things when we're in this turn. But this month, I feel like there's a lot of energy that can shift that. And I think the Aquarius energy too allows us to be more objective or detached, like you said, in creating space between where we are and what we dream about having or being or experiencing.
And the archetype of Pisces is infinite. And, when you're submerged in that, it's like, this is going to go on forever. But, when you are in action, all of a sudden you forget about all those feelings you had, right? And that's exactly what I meant by listening to the undercurrents. When you listen to the undercurrents, you're going to find that there's actually something that is activating inside of you. Something is starting to move. Even the desire of, I want to get out there, I want to do my things again. There's a mobilization that is happening. We haven't quite seen it yet, but it's around the corner.
I thought of something kind of morbid, and then we can move on. Leave it to me today, I swear. But no, not really. It's really something important, I feel. I remember back when Jeffrey was teaching, and I had a client that was suicidal, and I really didn't know at the time how to help her. And I asked him, what do you do when people come to you and they want to leave this world? They want to be out of here, and they're just suffering so much. And that can happen with the Pisces archetype of wanting to escape, right? Wanting to just, I'm out of here. And I was expecting, I think, something that was really advanced in my ability, something coming from him that was just massive that I would have to take on and figure out and integrate. But it was really simple, and this is really how he taught anyway. He could take the most intense or complex dynamic or situation and speak to it in such a simple way, because the truth is simple, and making adjustments are simple. They're not always easy, but they're simple. But he said this, I would tell them, that nothing stays the same. Everything is changing all the time. And the way that you feel right now is not the way you're going to feel forever. And that's how we can feel with that Pisces energy. I mean, the only constant is change, is really where he was coming at. And he could, of course, also speak to their experience, being a soul with so much Pisces in his own chart, and and when you're speaking to someone with that kind of compassion, and somebody knows that how they're feeling, and that's half the battle for somebody that's suffering, to really be in a space with somebody who knows how they are feeling. So if any of you are listening to this now and you're feeling in this sort of fog or just what's the point, it won't stay this way forever. And just like the water in the sea, it's always shifting, it's always changing. Those currents will move you to a better place. And part of that is surrendering.
Well, I sure hope so. I'm going to have that Neptune squaring my moon for the entire year. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not sure about that one. But,
well,
yeah, I'll reach out for help.
reach out and touch someone, and we'll touch back.
Expertise is needed.
I think the fear of something is always typically worse than the actual reality as well. Hopefully that will be true for you.
Yeah, well, there are several transpersonal planets cooking in my chart for the year. I'll tell you about it when the year is over.
Okay, well, we're a phone call away. Okay, so following your fingerprint, and just back to what I'd said earlier, this section is really special for us because we're highlighting souls that are actually really in direct alignment with how they were created. So pass it to you, Stacie.
Yeah, so I mean, the whole intention of following your fingerprint is to really just highlight souls who are just nailing it, who are really actualizing their planets and actualizing their individuality and doing what they came here to do. And I think this is really an excellent example this month to highlight Amanda Gorman. I think most of us saw her at the inauguration speech. She's the youngest poet or actually she's the youngest person to ever perform at a presidential inauguration. It's interesting because she she grew up with a single mom. She had a twin sister and another sibling. So 3 kids, 1 single mom in Watts, Los Angeles. I mean, Los Angeles sounds fancy, but Watts isn't. So let's get that straight. So, she had a recognition of how things are, of how dark skin can be treated differently in the world. A lot of her poetry, she's, obviously we know her now as just an amazing poet, amazing vision. She talks about feminism. She talks about oppression. She talks about the Black race being disassociated from their homeland and brought to another place. And, just the emotional process that leads to. And sorry, my dog is snoring on me. But she's just genius. She became the first, poet laureate in 2017. It's the first time they ever had that kind of competition, if you want to call it that, where you have people from, different backgrounds who are competing for this status. She graduated from Harvard, cum laude. So she's a genius girl. But what's interesting is that she grew up with this auditory disorder. And so she had a speech impediment as a result of that. And one day she was reciting a poem to her mom. And it was, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. And she realized at that point when she was reciting that to her mom that that's me. And, relative to her speech impediment, I remember her saying that one of the things that she does to get ready for performances is that she'll listen to Sir Burr Alexander Sir from the Broadway performance of Hamilton, and which is amazing. 1776, New York City. And this is what she would do to prepare herself for speaking. And she would just get into the groove and get into her spirit. And I think no one can deny that girl, she gets it. She gets it. Race is not a thing anymore, you know, and she's moving it in that direction. And, you know, everyone was touched by her performance in the inauguration. Everyone was. And she became a phenomena overnight. And, you know, people are like, are you going to run for president? And she's like, yes, I am in 2036, as soon as she's old enough. And so this is her. And so let's look at her chart.
I wanted to mention that her birthday is tomorrow, March 7th.
Oh,
the day
yes.
Before we're recording this.
That's
and
important.
She is a third stage individuated soul. Harvard grad is an example of this, you know, that intelligence that's morphing, evolving. But yeah, so happy birthday to Amanda, March 6th.
Yes, happy birthday.
Pisces girl, look at all that Pisces.
I know, it's unbelievable. So we're gonna kind of look at the fingerprint here. We've got Pluto in Sagittarius in the 4th, in Sagittarius in the 4th. South Node Pisces 7th house. And then Neptune is in the 5th house in Aquarius, conjunct Venus. And then we have obviously the polarity point in Gemini in the 10th house. And then we have a North Node in Virgo, and then we have Mercury in Pisces in the 7th. So we're going to have Deva go ahead and talk about like one of the kind of main themes that we see here, which is Pluto squaring the nodes.
Excuse me, may I interrupt just for a moment?
Of course.
Do we have an actual birth time? You've listed 4:52 p.m. Is that her birth time? I thought we had an unknown birth time.
As far as we know, this is the correct one.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, Deva.
Okay, yeah, so based on that that birth time and the background that's been shared, Pluto square the nodes symbolizes that a skip step has been created in the past and the soul is intended to resolve or to recover that skip step. The way that we determine or the way that we can guide if we happen to have a skip step or others is through the resolution node. We're going to look at the node that last formed a conjunction to Pluto and its planetary ruler facilitating the process. It becomes essential that this step is recovered in order for the soul to progress. So those emphasizing those archetypes that are indicated by the resolution node and also its planetary ruler in the context of the paradigm, of course. And that's really the gateway or the keys to resolving the step that the soul has skipped prior to the life. And this is certainly a pivotal or very important lifetime for Amanda. She became instantly liked, an instant phenomenon that her message is wide-reaching, looking at the Pisces 7s with Jupiter close to the sun, not quite a conjunct. But it spread like the wind. It just spread Pisces style. And looking at Pluto being in the 4th house here in Sagittarius, also with Jupiter on the South Node, that there's an intrinsic, I would see that as a part of it being the intrinsic teacher capacity, tuning into natural laws, tuning into natural truths that we all universally experience, seeing the Jupiter South Node Pisces in the 7th, also a fruition around being of service to those who are in the minority. That skip step from Virgo to Pisces, perhaps falling into a victim mentality, a block there, not being able to fully actualize what she was really here to do. Seeing the ruler of the South Node in Pisces and Aquarius in the 5th, also with Venus there, seeing the potential, seeing what could be, and flip-flopping between that and falling victim to the current conditions or the mentality that can be that so many know, especially in the minority, of feeling defeated by your personal circumstances.
Absolutely. I wanted to say too, Deva, that Pluto square the nodes is like this feeling of being powerless to change anything. Right?
Yeah,
It's not that,
exactly.
it's not that she didn't want to, but
No.
To be a Black woman in the world, to be Black, period, but then to be a woman. And if you even look back in history, not even now, but, you know, powerless is a real, it's a real example of that skip step, like throwing your hands up, like.
Right. Exactly. Like what really can I do, or maybe only a minimal amount. And this lifetime, looking at the resolution node in polarity point in Virgo on the first, being ruled by this Mercury at 29 degrees Pisces in the 7th house, conjunct Mars in Aries. Definitely a pioneer in breaking through this victim mentality and being able to bring about a new form of communication to those who are also stuck in powerlessness, hopelessness, reconnecting via the South Node to inspiration, to everything that can be, and essentially inspiring us to not fall into experiences of hopelessness, despair, but it's almost in a sense recapture that spark, recapturing that ability to become absolutely what you can be and what you're meant to be. And when all of us heard her, we just collectively, Pisces, went, oh, thank you. This is just absolutely what the doctor ordered. Dandelion in the wind for sure. And so there's a reflection of her recovering her skip step, saying North Node in the first house, even if I will be persecuted by this, no matter what the result, or, you know, no matter what the feedback, I will step into the light and I will speak and I will do this. And whew, look at what happened from that. So definitely an inspiration to so many, and a really incredible example of recovering your skip step that's in tunement with the collective need.
I wanted to share one more thing too before we move to our next contributor on this chart, Deva, is that, you know, there's something about putting yourself on a stage like this that puts you in, I mean, it increases your risk, right, of anything, whether it's being attacked or even being safe in the world, right? And so I remember your dad used to ask people, the students in school, how many of you are willing to die for what you believe in? You know, and everybody wanted to raise their hand. I did, because it sounds, you know, like, of course I would, you know. And I'm not saying that she's out there, oh, I'm, you know, but I'm willing to die for this, but there's certainly symbols that suggest she probably has in the past. And when you put yourself out there in such a big way, the cause is more valuable than anything, right? It's more valuable. It's like, I'm willing to put myself up here for everybody. And if I have to go down trying, I mean, if you're going to want to be a president of the United States or a big political person, there's risks involved. And I think that's reflected here, but she's got that Mars in Aries, so she's definitely geared up for it. So, all right. Thank you.
Okay, so where did our chart go?
Oh, right, we got to do this one too.
Okay, go for it.
Oh, you go.
So, okay, so the way that we determine the resolution node, by the way, in evolutionary astrology is, you know, when there is a planet, well, in any position, you look to, you know, you pretend like you're standing on the planet and then face the center of the wheel, and then you look to your left. And that is how you will know where the resolution node is. And that is the archetype that you can integrate in order to resolve the lessons that are unfulfilled. Okay, so, you know, now we're, you know, after that great piece from Deva, you know, it's true. She just really took everyone by storm, and she just obviously has this massive ability to interpret life in such an inspirational way. And so now we're going to hear from Sol about Jupiter, which is conjunct the South Node in the 7th house. So
yeah, I mean, you get this feeling almost like a priestess. There's like this aspect that comes in that is pretty spiritual with this Jupiter on the South Node. Of course, there's this teacher approach to it. And you also get this extreme sensitivity towards other people through that South Node in the 7th house. I mean, she's definitely an empath. And she's definitely someone with a huge capacity for visions and a huge capacity for seeing, I would say, opportunities. I mean, she even though you can see that there might have, I mean, evidently Jupiter on the South Node, very often they bring in past life experiences where they've experienced some sort of racial injustice, some kind of dogmatism, some sort of, like with Jupiter, you bump into extreme opinions, you know, just anything that is extreme. And so you could probably kind of imagine that she's been through lifetimes where she really lost her faith, where she really lost everything that she believed in. And I think it's so, you know, amazing that now we're getting a chance to get to know these Pluto in Sagittarius generation, because they're coming forth right now. They're coming forward. We get the chance to see these people. And I've already seen a son of a friend of mine performing, and he was born with Pluto in Sagittarius, which is part of this Jupiter energy that is coming in here. And he gave us a show. It was a one-man show, and it was deep, it was philosophical, it was going really into the meaning of everything. What's the point? You know, there has to be a deeper ground here. So I think, you know, she's definitely one that can inspire others, and she's probably done it before, you know, having little problem, you know, she really goes to the sun is there as well. She really goes into position quite easily. You know, she just, you know, takes up the space that she used to have, you know, continuing where she's, you know, dropped off last time, and just, you know, entering into this phase where she's really becoming an inspiration for a lot of people, you know, everywhere, not just in the United States, of course. I mean, she's very important for the soul of the people of the United States, but she's an inspiration for people throughout the world, you know, having a message that for me stands out as being very inclusive, very forgiving, very redeeming, redemption. You know, we need to have another way of approaching these ancient historical issues. And the way forward is really not repeating whatever we did the last round. So the answer is not further split. It is trying to unify everything. And Pisces is the sign of unity. It's like we're all under the same sky here. And I think, you know, at one point when Earth, you know, last year we saw this Aries Pluto square, and there was a need for Earthlings to express their anger. Like, I'm angry, this is not fair. But there's like an expiration date on that. We cannot keep holding these things up against each other forever and for into eternity. I mean, it's not really the solution that we're looking for. We're looking for that which is, I think, the esoteric truth in Pisces, and it's the path of love. And it has to come through forgiveness. But I think she will struggle with her own faith during in this lifetime many times. This will be her constant thing, you know. You got to have faith. Come on, keep on walking. She can see the potential, but sometimes it can be deflated with Jupiter in Pisces. It's like you see this huge potential and get these massive expectations. And she's being, you know, people are projecting a lot on her as well with that 7th house Sun Jupiter there. She's like, oh, our savior, yay, finally you came, you know, like, and then she will need massive amount of faith in order to kind of to keep it real. And just manage to stay grounded with it all. So, you know, I salute her courage, and thankfully, you know, it probably comes quite naturally with that trine with Mars and Pluto. But I think faith will be one of her things in this lifetime.
Excellent. Love that.
Yeah, so I mean, actually you nailed exactly what I was going to say. There has been a lot of expectation projected upon her, just a ton. And you know, here we see the square between the North Node and Pluto, or the South Node and Pluto, with the, you know, Jupiter. And it is going to take faith. It is going to take her really just embodying who she is and saying, okay, what am I really for? And what am I about? And how do I really interpret things? You know, don't expand too quick. So that'll be a challenge for her, for sure. So thank you for that.
Right, it might come down too to integrating around long-term, or it's kind of reintegrating around the truth of putting something out there for seed consciousness, so that you don't get attached necessarily to outcome, but it's like that motto, the values and the effort. And you just get up there and you just keep speaking wherever you can. And no matter what projections come your way, or, you know, oh, you didn't make it happen for me, boo, just to make you laugh. You just keep, first house, you just keep getting up there and speaking what you know to be true, and knowing that, or trusting, trying to have faith that long term, that's part of the intention, putting it out there in the wind, putting it out there in terms of what can be integrated over time.
And her book is The Hill We Climb, right? So it's you're climbing. Isn't that the name of the book that she wrote, that everyone's, and that Saturn and Aries squaring her moon in Cancer, you know, over time. And it's about a process, you know? So, okay. Rose, you're next with Mercury and Pisces, balsamic to Mars and Aries.
Well, I just think that that is such a fabulous signature there. I mean, it just has so much. So first of all, as Deva pointed out, that the North Node is the resolution node in Virgo, making that Mercury punched up. It's 29 degrees, so it is culminating, and it is balsamic to Mars. So there's, you know, that's a very, very potent Mercury. And when you have a balsamic cycle, and Mars, of course, is the, you know, the will of the soul embodied in this lifetime. So, you know, there's this, you know, kind of contemporary piece of that. But when you have a balsamic phase, it's a short form. You know, that which does not serve is already eliminated from the program. That 29 degrees is already culminating. So it's already got, you know, a tremendous amount, it's already set up. And Mercury in Pisces relative to its dispositor, Neptune in Aquarius there with Venus conjunct here, the evaluation process is already, you know, very conscious, very awake. I was just thinking about a few different things that I had read about her. This auditory processing disorder is interesting. You know, auditory is, of course, going to be Venus, what you're taking in. And with that auditory processing disorder, I'm thinking about the North Node in Virgo, and Virgo is an elimination process, or maybe even a rejection process. And, you know, maybe there's already a short form here in the kind of information that she's already taken in. And I have this little bit here I took from here. She's often alone at recess, writing in her journal. There are memories in my mind in which I recognize that my voice was being othered, being asked from a young age, where are you from? You talk funny. She says, people were so insistent in trying to pin down why I was different from them. And this is with that Mercury Mars piece of that, you know, it's kind of this rejection of being labeled, labeling as a Mercury archetype, of being identified in a particular way. And Pisces is an archetype of totality, you know, so this idea of not wanting to be labeled, you know, is really, it's very interesting the way that is taking place. The Mercury, you know, Pisces is an archetype. Mercury in Pisces, I always like to use the word iconic. And this Mercury in Pisces, it's a seeding from the past, and a already positioned to be in the, you know, in the future realm in terms of her evolutionary direction forward. Mercury is a spokesperson, And when you have Mercury in Pisces, Sol was talking about being an empath. Well, I think that Mercury in Pisces is a spokesman for the collective unconscious. And I think that really what Amanda is doing is, an iconic spokesperson for giving a voice to the collective unconscious, right? And we're all feeling that same kind of energy. Here Kamala Harris said, "I may be the first woman to hold this office, but I won't be the last." And I think that Amanda embodies that in exactly her presentation and her message to the collective. Yes, see me, but also see all other Black girls who've been made invisible. I will not and I cannot rise alone. And this is interesting because Mercury in Pisces, it's interesting because that's the hidden self, and she is a twin. And up to the point of Amanda, bursting onto the scene, we didn't know she was a twin, or we didn't know anything about her. What about her twin, right? And you might think in terms of, again, that Mars in Aries, she is first, but she is not going it alone. And in looking at, the bio of her sister is just as impressive as Amanda is, and spokesperson for the collective. So it's quite an amazing thing. I also, this idea of moving from non-existence to I am, to from invisibility to visibility. That's the Pisces to Aries piece of that. And I think, as you were saying, Kristin, about putting yourself out there, I think that she is so immersed with the Pisces archetype, Neptune and Aquarius here, is that when you get so immersed in the energy and the feeling of all that, the ego is lost. You are there because it's your destiny, because it's your passion. And I want to bring up one other thing that is really quite brilliant to this Mercury Mars in balsamic. So remember that balsamic is a seeding archetype for the future, right? So it's imprinting something. What happened with her inability to speak, her speech impediment, is that she began to incorporate movement into her everyday speaking to help herself being understood. And she focus was not on how she spoke, but on what she had to say. And that's got everything to do with what is of ultimate value and meaning, all of that Venus. But I want to put this out there, that Mercury Mars balsamic is demonstrating by physical movement. As she talks, if you saw her hands were like ballet, mm-hmm. And what she is doing with the physical movement is the power of suggestion, which is what that Mercury Mars is in. I think the unspoken message is, hear the words and take the action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love
right?
that.
Isn't that brilliant? I mean, that's really brilliant, and that is a subtle message to the collective.
You can lead a horse to water, right? I mean, that's her Jupiter on the South Node, She's leading the horse to water. She's leading people to the water, and everybody's got to,
absolutely. Absolutely. And, it's one other thing I want to say as well, too, after this big iconic moment for her. And I'll just say that Mercury Mars, I love balsamic positions because I always say it takes the guesswork out of it. You're already set up. That resolution node is already activated, and the Mars in Aries, it's all about experiential, and it's all about being completely immersed in that. But interestingly, after she did this brilliant moment, she was accosted by sorry, I don't have the whole statement, but a security guard followed her home and said that she looked suspicious and wondered what she was doing there, right? And that's, you know, that's when she said in a retreat, you know, because she showed him her keys and then he left her alone. But, you know, at another point in time, what did she say? We live in a contradictory society where we can celebrate a Black girl poet and also pepper spray a 9-year-old, referring to a recent incident. In the second tweet, she said, in a sense, he was right. I am a threat, Mars and Aries, a threat to injustice, to inequality and ignorance.
Yeah, she said one day you're called an icon and the next day a threat.
Yeah, you know, and is that not a living, walking, active demonstration of that Mercury Mars? You know, so I mean, she is here to be a spokesman for the collective unconscious and to embody that and to display that.
So I want to tie this with a pretty bow. This is like the upside of the Pisces, she says, because on the heels of this experience, right? So all these people that follow her are reading about this experience and horrified, of course, because everyone wants to protect this angel that has arrived. But she said, I'm so thankful for the outpouring of support since the incident last night. It won't change the truth of what happened and continues to happen to Black Americans, but it reassures me of what I already know. There's always far more good in this world than bad. Love, Amanda. And that's, there you go. You know, the Pisces, all that Pisces on the South Node in the 7th house. So love conquers all. That's her message.
Always.
All right. Thank you for that. So we're going to finish with Lilith. Original Lilith is seen there next to Pluto. It's an unusual looking glyph, but the original Lilith is an asteroid that sits in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. It does have nodes, Lilith, and this is not the resolution Lilith, the black moon Lilith that a lot of people are familiar with. That term, this is the original Lilith, the asteroid, and this reflects your original feminine fingerprint, I would say. So wherever it is in your chart, archetypically, it is your feminine fingerprint and your origins in that way, and where you can experience your greatest sense of power or empowerment as a woman in the world. If you are a man, then it is how you are expressing or actualizing the feminine within you, or it may reflect the nature of the types of women you are attracted to, your ideal image of a woman, perhaps. But in Amanda's case, look at that new phase conjunction to Pluto, very powerful. Also squaring the nodal axis. And I think she had about 20,000 followers before she gave that speech. That's a lot for a young girl, woman, I should say, before the inauguration speech. And almost overnight, it went to 3.6 million. So that, I would say, this is her going from powerlessness to empowerment in this lifetime, and definitely empowered herself in that moment to send a message for all, for the entire world, obviously. The other thing that she did was she was the first poet, female poet, and first African-American poet to give a message at the halftime of the Super Bowl. Come on, talk about a Lilith experience. I don't know if I've ever seen one like that, I have to say. You know, yes, we've got Beyonce and Madonna, Gaga, out there on the stage, but a poem, I mean, this is awesome. And then that's just another universe to me. It's just incredible. And how young she is and how fast that fame happened, incredible. So anyway, this is part of the skip step with Pluto that Deva was speaking to. It restates her natural ability to teach and reach cross-culturally, and just sitting there in the 4th house, just a powerful woman in the world in her own right. And it trines that Saturn. Wow, that's got serious staying power. And so, as I've mentioned in other shows, we want to see themes repeat. And they have been repeating in this whole period of time that we've been sitting here talking about her. All these themes continue to repeat. If they're repeating, then you're on the right track. So some of these other points here on the slide have already been mentioned. I also wanted to share that I really feel like, beyond the fact that she was a woman, she is a woman and she's Black, she really came in with something, you know, even a bigger hurdle with her speech and everything else, to make her really understand what everybody feels like that has to overcome something. The hill, we all have a hill to climb. And so beyond already what she had to deal with, she took on yet one more thing. And what she talks about is that it helped her to really refine her language, to really go deeper into that journey, and to really learn how to communicate, not just with her voice, but with her inflections and with her hands. It's like her ability to be a messenger became total. And so she is absolutely a Lilith soul and a priestess for sure. She looks so much like a priestess. And in a past life, I'm certain she was an African priestess by the looks of these symbols here. So just wanted to say a few more things that weren't covered there. And clearly a change maker.
Yeah, but I think I wanted to just elaborate a little bit on what you said there about, you know, I mean, she speaks for particular groups in particular, like for women. She's a representative for women and also for African Americans. But on a larger scale, if you look at this from a more collective or global scale, this is what drives us into madness and acting so strange with each other is dogmas underneath everything, opinions, judgments. We live in a very judgmental world. And now it's really getting, you know, surfacing. It's really surfacing this abusive quality in humanity where we tend to see people as objects. And it's been happening for as long as slavery has happened, you know, like in so many cultures we've had that, you know, happening. And it happens between men and women, you know, which is also a split, you know, like all these splits. So I'm hoping, even though the Pluto in Sagittarius generation will probably, you know, be on the spectrum, you know, from having quite strong opinions about things to entering into a more unified whole, right? But this generation is definitely going to purify some of the judgments that we tend to put on each other. Like, I'm from this culture and I have that privilege, and you know, like there's like, we're faced with all kinds of judgments all the time. If we are in one age group, then we're judged being in that age group. If we're, you know, like it's like everywhere. And I think, you know, I think humanity at large is getting tired of it. I just want to be human. Is that okay? Is that possible? Like, I mean, we can't compare our sufferings in a way, you know, like we have to accept that everybody suffers. And I will not be a judge over other people's sufferings. You know, like if they feel pain, they feel pain. That's it. You know, so I'm really thinking this is what I picked up from her, you know, when I saw that inauguration, that when she recited the poem, she did it with such authority and calm. And what I felt was that this is a message for humans, for human beings.
Absolutely. It was really beautiful. There's not a soul that couldn't have taken that in and celebrated what she was saying.
No, it's the beauty of the Venus-Neptune thing. It's just so ethereal, and it's
that is an African queen signature if I ever saw one too. The ruler of her south node sitting with Venus in the 5th in Aquarius, and she's so beautiful. She looks like an African queen.
Oh my God, so amazing! I was like, whoa. I mean, like she's completely embodying that otherworldly Pisces thing. You know, the thing that the rest of the zodiac is envious about.
Yeah, timeless beauty.
Yeah, this is a ethereal thing, this kind of like this thing you can't put your finger on it, but they just got it. It's like and we all fall in love with it. It's like, I can't resist this beauty.
So true. Okay, thanks you all. That was awesome. Loved it.
Oh
my goodness, what a switch now.
yeah, the comedy witch is coming. Yeah, well, it is. It's been a very strange time for me personally. You know, like I've been in some timelessness zone, so I sometimes get nudged out of it. And I did that with the Stacie. She asked me if I'd done my memes. Did you? Did you get your memes out? And when I get started, it's like, I can't stop. It's like, and I really want to say this before we start, is that I'm so sorry that I didn't go into all the aspects of Pisces, because Pisces is quite the archetype. I mean, it's just everything. It's just you get the most weird stuff happening in Pisces, like stuff that only happens to Pisces. And then you're like, you probably write a book about that, stuff that only happens to Pisces, like for $1 million. Wow, hi, you know. There's underlying thing with esoteric astrology. I've found great joy reading about all the different rulers that they use in their astrological model, and they have some underlying rulers. Actually, for Pisces, it's Pluto, and this is so interesting. It's the soul ruler or something, like in esoteric astrology for Pisces, and that reminds me of that incredibly strange, complex archetype that is Pisces, because underneath that really soft, beautiful, innocent looking, you know, being, there's like this incredible power. Mm-hmm. You know, there's like this incredible power, you know. I think, you know, for instance, this is Drew Barrymore. She's a Pisces, and she's looking totally innocent, knowing very well she got the power. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's that there is a shadow to every sign, and of course with you know, I think the shadow in every sign is the way we manipulate, you know, like, and with Pisces, it's definitely those eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't do it. No. I
didn't do it.
I never do anything wrong. But so yeah, that's definitely, I think I have some more. Oh yeah. And this is something, you know, I have Mercury in Pisces myself. You know, I love Kermit. And Pisces are waking up from their afternoon nap, wondering if it was a dream or if it actually happened for reals. You know, did you ever have those experiences? You know, like I have Mercury in Pisces, and I have to ask myself when I wake up from these afternoon naps, like, seriously, was that I can't separate realities. It's like impossible. It's like, so, you know, that's one of the advantages and I would say also challenges of being Pisces.
Mm-hmm. That's very funny.
I know. So I have Gemini on the 12th. So I hear you. I'm the same way.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to the lyrics underneath here, but I probably sent her the wrong thing. But this is just a random email, SMS conversation I saw online, and it happens to be between a Pisces and a Scorpio. And it's this kind of like, the point is that, you know, happy birthday, thank you, happy birthday, thank you, happy birthday, thank you, happy birthday. That's how you know. Like, when you don't want to be impolite, right? You want to keep up the appearances, but you know, like sometimes Pisces can have immense trouble hurting others. You know, even if they don't want to be friends with people, they still go into this, you know, happy birthday, oh, happy birthday, thank you, happy birthday. You're like, that's the only.
Well, and sometimes it's just kind of like, even though it's just like a silly word, you can kind of get the spirit from someone, and you can feel like, gosh, they thought about me on my birthday. And, you know, I know for me, that's kind of how I feel. Like I'm always like in shock and awe when people wish me happy birthday, because I don't ever advertise it. And, you know, it's kind of just a sign of collectiveness. And I don't know. That's my
Pisces, for instance, is very caring. They wouldn't want people to feel left out. You know, you have that kind of extreme caring character that comes through in Pisces. It's like, I wouldn't want anybody to feel left out. Oh yeah, okay. So when she finally answers him, after a week, you are back to thinking she is your twin soul. You know, that's it doesn't take a lot.
That is so true.
It doesn't take a lot. Like we all know, we all have Neptune somewhere, and it's our tendency to create illusions. And it's like, you know, despite a ton of red flags, you're always going to find that one convincing spot where you're like, yeah, she's my twin soul. There it is.
Oh
It's what we call selective consciousness. It's like you just ignore everything but that one thing that will ignite hope. So yeah, I think I have more of these relationship memes. Yeah, this is the dream. That's the dream. And then you can throw in the next one, Linda. And how it
Oh no.
Well,
So
I think
true.
yeah. Again,
That is so funny.
Completely. Oh yes.
yeah. And I've often noticed as well, you know, like when there's Pisces in the house, you know, in one way or another, especially the sun in Pisces, you often get like, oh, geez, sorry. You often get children with special demands happening, you know, like it's the tendency for Pisces to kind of like space out into alternative realities. And then they get this one kid who's like craving their attention and then trying anything to get it. And well, turning out to be quite attention needing, actually, just in order, it's like an evolutionary thing, just in order to teach the Pisces consciousness to actually be here now. Stay focused, stay concentrated in this moment. You know, like Pisces relates to prison, being imprisoned in form, and how you can find liberation inside that, or how you can find oneness with everything there. Sometimes the idea of reaching out for having a oneness moment with cosmos is not related to like the regular things you have to do in life, right? But it's this ancient cone from the Zen thinking is like, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. And that's a thing with Pisces that I think of people who have a strong Pisces thing in their charts. They really need to learn that the magic you're looking for, it's actually right there. How it turned out, you know, like. Okay, so forever making excuses to clean the office using that one article that claimed that creative people are messy. That's my excuse. What's your excuse?
Oh my God.
Did you see my keys? Could you find my keys? It's like, I mean, for somebody, Virgo is on the other end of that spectrum, and we can sometimes also put OCD there, you know, just like I like to keep things, you know, precisely where they should be so that I don't waste my time. It's about being energy efficient. Pisces is just looking at it from the whole different viewpoint. Like, I like timelessness, and who needs keys anyway? I just keep my door open, you know?
Oh my God.
This was a good one for the new moon, you know, like feeling like you've been walking around in timelessness and then just not realizing that piles of garbage is growing around you, you know, like because you didn't notice.
That is me, Soul. This is me. Okay, like my room doesn't look like that, but I relate. I so relate. It's this. It is. It's like you're in time for a moment and time passes and that's it.
Yeah, time passes. You know, I don't know. With my Mercury and Pisces, I don't know what weekday it is. I'm kidding you.
I know.
It's like time is a real problem for me sometimes. But sometimes. But the thing is, I once had an experience. I had a friend, she was Virgo, but I didn't know that before I came to her house, and it looked exactly like that.
No.
Exactly like that. And she was Virgo. And I'm like, she must be Pisces. She didn't care. You know, it was as if she didn't see it. Yeah. It's like, oh, that just you know, like sleeping men and stuff. Just, you know, just don't step on him, you know, like that kind of thing. And then I realized, and this is something that frequently comes up with Virgo, is that when they start to individualize, when they're on they're on the first stage of individuation, they oppose Virgo by turning almost into Pisces.
Mm-hmm. Rebelling. They're rebelling against
their own sign. You know, like that's what I discovered. So that's individuation. You're starting to rebel your own sign.
That's awesome.
Oh, and then they have such a soft spot. They can't see hurt in this world. You know, whenever you cry, I wish I was a spider, then I would spin you a tissue. I thought that was extremely Piscean way, you know, like wanting to hold the pain of the world, you know, wanting to ease it, wanting to, you know, wishing that people wouldn't feel pain. And it's so hard to be in this Piscean form because pain is educational, it's evolutionary, and that Scorpio can appreciate that. But, you know, when you get to the point of Pisces, you get to the point of salvation. You get to the point where you have that last salvation, the freeing of the pain. So,
so I have my son's a sun, moon, Pisces, and Mercury and Pisces. And when he was younger, he said, "Hey, Mama, why do I always cry when I see a Black person?"
Oh, wow.
And
that's very empathic.
And I mean, it connects the past lives that he's had, clearly, not as a Black person, but friends with them, I would say, just from what I know or sense, and some things that have surfaced. But he would be really emotional when he's talking about it. And maybe it was a movie that was on, or I mean, he was young, like 7, 8, 9, and it kept coming up for years. And so it's just, his soul was tuning into those memories and having an emotion and not knowing why. I mean, we live in a town where you can count on one hand probably how many African Americans live here. Unfortunately, it's very white, but it was something that came up a lot. And so, yeah, so such a sensitivity. And I don't know if you've ever heard this, but I heard once that the rarest sign are male Pisces born in March.
Oh, really?
And maybe because, I mean, maybe because we, as souls, we're choosing our birth entrance, right? Like, oh, I get to wear my heart on my sleeve all the time. That is, in a world like this, I don't know if I want to do that.
But at least here in the Northern Hemisphere, the rarest ascendant is Pisces and Aquarius. You know, it's the rarest ascendant. They swoosh by really quickly. It's like, whoops, oh, it's over already. So you have like a rare few individuals with that Pisces ascendant. And yeah, so I think that level of sensitivity requires a lot of consciousness. And I think we are, 10 degrees away from Neptune leaving Pisces. And I think what we've learned the last couple of years is how collectively how sensitive we are to each other. And I don't think we've learned yet how to respond to that. We seem to be responding with defensiveness and fear instead of learning to read what's going on in the collective. You know, if we read it right, I don't think we'd have these kinds of, a lot of the issues that we are currently experiencing on Earth that I would think are unnecessary because they're just causing pain for the individuals who are actually participating in it. It's self-destructive in a way.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, if we taught people how to be psychic, you know, like everybody's quite psychic. We just have to be waking up to it and then learning how to read it without fear. And I think we would gain such a rich human experience from that.
I agree.
Know, being able to touch each other like that. And that's really like a soul thing. So I'm still full of hope. I think we're moving in the right direction.
We have to be.
Yeah. Otherwise, what's the point?
All right. Thank you, Soul. It was awesome. I loved it. So movies. We've got Deva here to talk about a Pisces movie that she suggests. I love this movie. Seen it a few times. Go ahead.
Yeah, so a movie suggestion for the month of Pisces is called Powder, and it's about a young boy who is who's albino, and that happens through a freak accident. Lightning hits his mom while she's pregnant, and what ends up happening is that it just speeds up. It's kind of coming from Aquarius, all these different capacities, and so he's albino, and he has extraordinary sensitivity and empathy to everything around him, to the point to where he's able to help other people open up to these emotions as well. And one of the pivotal scenes that to me is very Pisces is he's trying to integrate into school. They find him kind of hiding out in a farm. And of course, grandma and grandpa had passed away. So he's hiding down with just a bunch of books in a cellar. And a woman comes and says, "Hey, have you ever interacted with the world other than through books?" And he says, "No, I haven't, other than my grandma and grandpa and books." "Okay, let's put you into high school." So here comes Powder into conventional high school. And they take him on a camping trip, and there's not supposed to be any hunting. And the local sheriff ends up bringing a gun, and he's teaching the other boys to deer hunt. And it's incredible, the delusion of Pisces. "Now that there is a clean shot. That deer is feeling no pain whatsoever. Clean shot, no pain. It's all okay." And Powder is just looking at this going, "Oh my God, no." And so he goes up to the guy and he holds him by the arm, and the deer by the other arm, and he's transmitting what that dying deer is feeling into the man, to such an extent that the guy is just going, "Oh my God, I'm lost and alone in the dark." He's just completely opening up to what transpired. And here's the sheriff, and when he talks to another police officer later, "Hey, what happened?" He says, "Now I don't know what that thing is, but whatever happened, I'll tell you, it was like I was that deer." "And I will never pick up a gun again, ever, and I will never hunt." And he says, "Well, you're the sheriff. How are you going to do that?" Well, after that was transmitted to me, no more hunting. And same thing with another scene where there's a dying wife, and she's been holding on for over 2 years, and they can't figure out why she's hanging on, because she lost the capacity to speak. And then Powder comes in, he puts his hand on her head, and he's able to tell exactly why she's holding on. There was a fight between father and son, a lost wedding ring. And so there's Powder with his hand on her head, everything just flowing through so that she can finally pass. After Powder relays the message. And from my vantage point, I pick that for Pisces, because when we allow ourselves to do that, when we allow ourselves to really take in full sail without any filters, the collective energy, how another person would be feeling, we almost lose that sense of us and them. It really becomes something that's unifying, and that helps us remember our strength as collective, and that in the long run, what happens to one happens to us all. So it's a really beautiful film that touches base also on those capacities that some Pisces, those with heightened Pisces, can be attuned to, the audiovoyance, clairvoyance, just taking in full sail everything that's in the environment.
And so empathic.
Yeah.
Well,
they don't know if you go ahead.
Yeah, that's one of the things that struck me during that movie, is that he was just so teased and so taunted for being different, and every single time he was just, he was quiet, he just kind of retreated, and just it was like people didn't understand him. And there was the point where they were trying to kick the crap out of him and then lightning struck and something happened. I don't want to be a spoiler alert, but
Don't spoil.
Do you remember the part where the bully comes up to him and he tries to make himself all tough, and Powder puts his hand on him and he replays exactly a conversation that his dad had with him before he beat him and why he became a bully? Isn't that what your father said, Mitch, right before he kicked you to almost death? And Mitch goes, I'm not gonna touch you.
Exactly. Yeah.
So Backward Soul said, like, there's a sensitivity, but what did you say, Soul? Something about how powerful that is.
Yes. Right. That despite being teased, that his power comes in his sensitivity and what he's able to help open people up to. And after that, there's like this Piscean protection. Like you don't mess with that.
the beauty of everything is that, you know, Pisces is once it leaves the dualism of the world, once it leaves, you know, the pros and cons of everything, you get strength, you get neutrality, you don't go into the drama of everything. And that's what, you know, like I've been quite obsessed with the mythology of Jesus, and you know, even though his birth time is put to Capricorn, he still embodies the Pisces archetype. And for me, he's a yogi who mastered perfect immunity, simply by saying you can be in this world but not of this world, right? There's like a mastery that happens with sensitivity training, that where you sit with it but you don't absorb it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
He's actually a Pisces. He's a Pisces.
Yeah, like you can feel the pain, of course. Then you recognize what they're going through, but you cannot.
You don't attach to it.
Like you can't cry their tears in a way. They have to embody them themselves. And sometimes you see that going on with clients as well, when they're not embodying their emotions, like there's some sort of split between the emotions and the mind. I definitely feel their feelings, and I'm like, I'm about to start crying here, you know, like, and it's like, these aren't my tears, you know. It's like
exactly.
So
that's
it's
exactly
just
right.
Mastery of compassion as opposed to pity. You know, when we pity each other or pity ourselves, we lose energy. It's such an energy drainage. But once there's compassion, there's strength. So we have this illusion that love is weak. It's the strongest on, you know, in cosmos. It's like, it's the thing we're looking for. So I think, you know, especially Pisceans have a chance to tap into that non-dual way of being in the world. And I think, well, if we are to move forward, I think we all should learn from that.
Oh, exactly. I think one of a beautiful quote too that I remembered from the movie is because they're all so freaked out by him. They don't know what to do with him, or just, you know, but finally this guy reaches out and he says, have you ever really had a friend? And he says, no. And he says, well, let me tell you one thing. When I look at you, I have hope that one day our humanity will surpass our technology. And so he's reaching out to him in terms of, look at what you inspire and look at the strength that you have. And I mean, Powder just doesn't know what to do. He's just like, so the strengthening, or what you were sharing exactly, and the hope or the potential in that.
Wonderful.
All right. Thank you, Deva.
Yes.
All right. Oh, look at that slide. Isn't that those colors? So Pisces. Pisces connects to dreams, and Soul, you had this picture of was it Kermit? He was waking up from a dream. I wasn't sure if it was real or not. And well, as I was sharing earlier, our family lost a loved one, and we weren't able to tell my son, who's this triple Pisces, right away, because he had a very big weekend up at college, and we wanted to spare him the news. And so I called him on Sunday, and he said, hey, Mom, I had this dream last night, and I was crying hysterically, and I didn't know why. And he wanted to talk to me about it. He wanted to ask me if I knew what it meant. And then I was able to tell him that we had some hard news for him. So his soul had experienced what we were getting ready to tell him ahead of time, because he's got this sun, moon, and Pisces with Mercury and Pisces. And the way that he interpreted it after the fact, because he didn't have the news, all of it, was that he felt like his namesake had passed. My son's name is Scotty, and the man who passed is Scotty, was my husband's best friend, and only 54. And my son is incredibly close to him. And so he felt he had been visited in the night by this man and this dear loved one of his, and he was grieving the loss ahead of time. And so, you know, with Pisces, you can be so tuned into something and not really know what it is, right? You can you can feel it, but not know intellectually what's happening. And that's exactly what happened for him that day. And then we were able to, he hadn't passed yet, but he was on his way. And so he was able to send him a recorded message before he left this world. So, you know, I have to be honest, it's been quite a few weeks and inspiration has been hard to come by. And with Neptune and Pisces, it can create this slipping through your fingers feeling, right? That haunting experience that occurs when someone you love leaves the world. And I know I'm not alone in this experience, and yet it feels so personal when it happens. But with Neptune, we're forced to look further and to surrender to earthly limitations and seek something more eternal. A love that's so pure and unconditional that you are left feeling unattached to the material and fed by a higher stream of consciousness. This is the light of Neptune that has a way of bringing out your best state of becoming. We are all in a state of becoming. And with that, we have to experience loss at times in order to really get in touch with who we are and, well, the depths of how we can feel and reach others as well. So I just encourage all of you to go there this month while we are immersed in a lot of this Pisces energy that has so much potential. And the Pisces message is to keep that door open. And the door exists within you, not outside of you, and to just tap into higher octaves of healing and connection and the love that you can give others along with yourself. Forgiveness is a part of that too, in some cases. So thank you all for being here. And thanks to the team of incredible women that I just love joining with you together every month. And our next show will be on Aries, Saturday, April 3rd. And it's going to be a very different feeling.
Yeah.
And so Stacie, Deva, Rose, and Soul, thank you so much. It was a wonderful day today together. And we have a new book coming out, which is Natural Astrology, the series that we did last year with this stellar group of astrologers here. We've got the list of them, the co-authors, and that should be out within the next week or so, I believe, but you'll be hearing about it. And so all of the women here are part of that project as well. And for those of you who want to learn more about evolutionary astrology, schoolof-evolutionaryastrology.com. And we have the original school taught by the founder, Jeff Green, there available, as well as a message board. And Deva is working on a thread right now to teach evolutionary astrology for those of you who are interested. Until next time, namaste.
Namaste.